Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Savannah building. My name is Scotty. I am a member of the communications team here at the Calgary Zoo, and this wonderful Facebook Live is all about our bugs and bouquets campaign, donation campaign, specifically our bugs that were donated and they were named by the amazing donors. And the bug campaign altogether is $2,600. That's 94 donations for the bugs, and then as a total, the bugs and the bouquet be getting fed too. So I'm going to introduce a wonderful animal care team member here, Mona, who is going to be talking a little bit more about the meerkats. Hello, Mona.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Calgary Zoo and welcome to the meerkat exhibit.
Wonderful. So, what kind of enrichment are the meerkats going to be getting today?
Well, we have some special enrichment for the meerkats, mostly for Valentine's Day. So we have some what we call popsicles. We have them in shapes of hearts for Valentine's Day. And we have frozen in there some bugs and some fruits and vegetables, their favorite ones, in there. We also have some other food. They do eat a little cat crunchy. And then we do have some bugs, some mealworms, and some crickets, which are their favorite food of all time.
That's awesome. All right, so we have, I believe that's Kayla.
Yes, so my coworker Kayla here, she's working with the meerkats, and she's going to start bringing in the different enrichment items. Today, now, like I said, we had 8 meerkats. They don't share well. So we always put in multiple things. If you're kind of watching them, sometimes when they get something really juicy, they'll just push their bum into the other meerkat to kind of prevent them from getting the good stuff.
Oh, wow. And what are these items here?
Yeah, these are just fun little enrichment things that they move. So all those little pieces move. So we'll put the food in, and you can see the meerkats have to manipulate it. They have to push the little pieces to get all the food out. And we have all 4 of them here now. Anawa here is in the, she's a little bit more, she's the most nervous of the group. They all have their own unique personalities. So she tends to be a little bit more nervous. So you can see the other 7, they're just up in their face. And here we are. Here's their special Valentine enrichment. We brought a little bit of snow inside for them today. And then the little popsicle treats for them. And you can see they're very curious. They're always exploring and investigating things. Now, you know, when Kayla's walking in there, they burrow. So he has to be very careful that she doesn't fall into a burrow with those meerkats. And again, we do multiple items. So she's kind of set that down. Now, they're not going to be too interested in the snow. They do like those little popsicles a little bit. But Kayla's going to come out and give some of their favorite treats in those, some of the bugs.
Wonderful.
So she's going to ring a bell. I don't know if you heard that, but that's the cue to the meerkats that their food is coming. So she's they get some insectivore diet. Meerkats are insectivores, which means that they eat bugs. And she's putting the good things in there for them. And they're not going to eat the snow, but the snow is stimulating for them. So as zookeepers, we always like to try and give them new things to stimulate their senses. So bringing in a little bit of snow from outside, that'll certainly give them a different sensory feeling for that. All right, now here comes the crickets.
Here comes the bugs.
Okay, the crickets, and they're live crickets, so the meerkats do have to run around and get them in there, their favorites.
All right, so we had some very fun names for some of these bugs, thanks to our amazing donor. More content of our insect-eating animals here at the zoo, including meerkats as well as reptiles and birds and some other animals as well. Now we're going to open up the questions to our audience now. So if you have any questions about the meerkats, feel free to ask. We also have Mona here will be answering those questions. Mona, when it comes to the enrichment, the sensory part of the enrichment, so the snow, is that something that you guys do often, as long as there is snow available?
Well, of course, we have to have snow available to do that, yes. Which Mother Nature has been very generous with that this winter. So we do it in the wintertime, but we don't do it too often, because if you give it to them too often, it just becomes commonplace and doesn't fit the bill for being enrichment. Enrichment should be something that they don't get very often.
All right. Are there, when it comes to feeding animals live food like the crickets and the mealworms, is it specifically just our insect-eating animals? Is that something we do for other animals?
Yes, it's mostly the insects that we do feed live. The penguins, they're fish eaters, but those have all been, frozen, and we don't feed them live. The insects, even though we do feed them live, we have a very strict protocol on how we care for those insects. They get a really nice little area, they get proper nutrition, they get water, we even give them a little bit of enrichment. So they have a very good life, those mealworms, superworms, and crickets, before they end up as being dinner for the animals here at the zoo that eat them.
Now, I remember you saying that there was a meerkat birthday coming up. Who would that be?
Yes, so meerkats, a group of meerkats is called a mob. And the dominant one of the mob, it's always a female, a dominant female, and she's the one that has the babies. So it is Petunia, and she is right over here. She just went down into the burrow. Of course, they're burrows. There's Petunia. So there she is. She is... in 4 days, the 27th is going to be her birthday. She's going to be 14, which is getting quite old for a meerkat. Her health is great. She's doing really well. We have her in here with three males. We got these 3 males specifically from the London Zoo, London, England, to bring in some new genetics to the North American breeding population of meerkats. And then the other ones in here are all her kids. And we've had many more babies here at the zoo. So when they start to mature and get older, we do send them to other zoos for breeding. Because, of course, they wouldn't be able to breed here because they'd be related, of course, to their mom and then their dads.
We had our first question that is actually about breeding. So is this a breeding program that is a cooperation?
Old enough that I guess her body just said, hey, I'm done with this. So right now we just have this wonderful family group of meerkats.
So this question is related directly to the behavior we're seeing. How deep are the burrows here at the zoo?
Oh, I love that question. That's good. Because often when we have to go in and feed the meerkats and clean up after them, occasionally we'll walk on the surface and we'll break through a barrier. And in here we do have a bottom on this exhibit, so they can't actually dig out to Katamba Cafe. But it's about 4 feet down. Now in the wild, the meerkats, they can dig down a couple of meters. And they have such a big maze of burrows underneath here. You can see a few of the entrances, but underneath here it's just a maze of burrows that they've all dug for themselves.
So this question kind of relates to you were pointing out an individual earlier, Petunia. How do you tell the meerkats apart? They look pretty similar to people who might not spend too much time with them, but how do you tell them apart?
So there's a few ways. Because it's very, very important for us to be able to tell our animals apart. So if one is getting a little too fat or a little too thin or is not doing very well, it's really important for us to know what that individual animal is to give them the care that they need. So we just look at they all are a little different physical characteristics. Whether they have a little bit different color, their tails might be a little fatter, their ears may be a little bit different shape. There's all different ways that we can tell them. And there's some behavioral as well. But to make sure we don't make a mistake, they all have a microchip. So when they first came to the zoo, they all got a little microchip that's just implanted under their skin, and then we all have a scanner, and so we'll know exactly which meerkat we're dealing with.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. So that digging behavior there, would they use that not just to build their tunnels, but would they be digging up food from underground as well?
They can, because when we scatter feed, so they all get a chance to get the food, and if they're the crickets or the mealworms, superworms, sometimes they'll burrow down into the dirt, and sometimes we'll bury a little bit of stuff for them as well. So they're always looking for grub.
So this is a question that I have seen before. What are meerkats' closest relatives? I think people often assume maybe they're rodents or weasels. What are they related to?
Yeah, no, that's a good question too, because it's kind of important to know what group they're related to. They belong in the mongoose family. So mongoose are their closest relatives.
Wonderful. And so do they have that famous ability to contend with venomous animals that mongooses have?
That's a really good question. Yes, because they're one of the few animals that contend with venomous animals. So their specialty is scorpions.
Wow.
So they just dispatch them, and they just take that little poisonous tail off them pretty quickly. But they also can deal with snakes, whether they're poisonous or not. But it takes the whole mob to deal with a snake. One meerkat can deal with a scorpion, but it takes the whole mob to be able to deal with a snake. And they do it expertly.
So for those who are wondering, that was one of the hippos that we just heard, I think.
That's probably Sparky. She always likes to be the center of attention, and now the meerkats are getting the attention today, so she's just letting us know.
Yeah. So that branch and the other items hanging from there, would you be placing food up there so that they can forage for food at a higher level?
Yeah, it's just to get them to think, to stimulate them mentally as well. So you can see that's kind of a little fake grass thing, and we put some food in there, and as you can see, I believe that's Tappy. She is just manipulating it, trying to get the food. Some of it is falling out. So the other ones that aren't working too hard, they're just hanging out on beneath, waiting for the stuff to fall down.
All right, so just a reminder for folks, you can ask questions of Mona if you have any about our meerkats who are foraging about for their enrichment that is a part of our Bugs or Bouquets campaign. So for those just joining us, the meerkats received some bugs that were named by donors, typically given names related to exes or things they want to leave in the past in 2020, such as coronavirus or the online dating, specific to quarantine, online dating, things like that. So it was a fun way for all of you to show your love for the zoo and care for our amazing animal ambassadors like our meerkat mob. All right, do we have any questions? All right. Someone just said they're eating all my ex-boyfriends right now, which is pretty satisfying.
Well, in talking about eating, because they're insectivores, they have the teeth are designed for that. So they have very sharp little conical teeth, and they're designed for crunching bugs.
So would that be more, their teeth more like a cat, where they're kind of sharp rather than the chisel-like teeth of, say, like a mouse or a rat?
Probably more similar, but they're still quite distinct from a cat, because cats are designed to eat, big chunks of meat.
Right.
And they have those special teeth in their cheek called carnassials that are used to shear the meat off. These guys don't have that. They just have numerous little, small, little, tiny, sharp, very sharp teeth.
So here's a question. How are the meerkats doing without all the foot traffic in the building? Was it surprising for them to have extra people in here today?
Yes, we need all of you to come back to the zoo. We're really hoping to get back to normal. There's a few of the animals that really miss all our guests. The meerkats are one of them. They love to engage with all the kids, yes, they're really missing it. They get into more trouble, actually, when they don't have guests around to keep them occupied.
This is an interesting question here. Is their fur coarse or soft? What does their fur feel like? It's kind of in between. It's not really soft, not like a cat, but it's not very coarse either. But it is designed to repel the dirt, of course, because they're digging a lot in the dirt, so it kind of will repel that dust. So, but we don't touch our meerkats. We like meerkats to be meerkats. We don't need to turn them into pets. I don't think they'd make very good pets, actually, because they're very quick to bite. If you were here watching earlier, you would see that Kayla, one of our animal care staff, she went in and put the enrichment in there and was feeding them and stuff. So they're used to us being in their space, but we just let them be meerkats. We don't have to touch them, so we don't do that. And they'd be very quick to bite if we did. So this is an interesting question. How high can meerkats jump?
Oh, they're not very good jumpers at all. It's not one of their talents. They can climb. They're not terrific climbers, but they can climb a little bit. So when meerkats in the wild, and even here, they'll have one animal we call it a sentry. So they usually go up as high as they can on a rock or on an easy tree to climb, and they will look out for danger. And if danger comes by, they'll give an alarm call. And they have different alarm calls depending on what the predator is. So they have a different one for a bird of prey or a snake or wild dogs, anything that might be a predator to meerkats. But jumping, no, it's not their forte.
All right, so I think we are going to finish up this live stream. We want to thank everybody for everybody who donated to the Bugs or Bouquets campaign and named an insect that our lovely meerkats have now devoured, as well as the various animals that will be getting insects throughout the year here at the zoo. So we want to thank you for donating, as well as we want to thank everyone who donated for bouquets as well. The vegetarian animals at the zoo certainly are going to be enjoying those veggie bouquets. Thank you so much for joining us for this live stream, and thank you so much for supporting wildlife conservation.